I want to talk Super Bowl odds real quick with you guys and gals. I'm kind of excited about this. And again, this doesn't mean anything other than the Packers are kind of on the radar as one of the better teams in the league. I think we all expected that. Nobody expected them to be seen as a bad football team, right? But here are the 2026, 2027 Super Bowl champion odds that were released. Again, this is from multiple people like DraftKings, FanDuel, folks like that. Some people may have this a little bit different odds. This is what I pulled using a kind of a conglomerate, if you will, like I had AI, a bunch of stuff, or put a bunch of stuff together here. Okay. So Super Bowl odds opening up for 2027. This is before free agency, before the draft, before, even letting players go off the roster. These are going to fluctuate a little bit, I would imagine. So the following teams have opened as the early betting favorites, according to DraftKings and FanDuel. All right. Seattle Seahawks are at the front to repeat at a plus 750 odds. Okay. The LA Rams are number 2 at plus 800. Number 3 are the Baltimore Ravens at plus 1200. Also tied at third is the Buffalo Bills at 1200, plus 1200. Then you've got the New England Patriots, the AFC representative this year. They are sitting at a plus 1300, along with your Green Bay Packers, plus 1300. Now, why aren't the Patriots number 2? Most people would look at it that way, right? They would say, okay, why would the Patriots not be closer to number 2 as opposed to, dropping all the way down to tied for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Anybody who's watched the Chappelle Show got that. So what a skit. So the Patriots, maybe they kind of outkicked their coverage this year, right? Maybe they played a little above where their talent actually is. I'll tell you this: they were coached very, very well by Mike Vrabel, very well. And I want to say he won Coach of the Year. I believe so. I missed the NFL honors. So if you guys know that, throw it in the chat. But so you got a guy that kind of overperformed this year with his team. Now, does it mean they can't kind of reset, reload a little bit and get back? Absolutely, they could do that. But right now, they've got them listed as the third best team in the AFC here, according to the early Super Bowl odds. And again, there's a lot of roster construction that needs to take place. So they got the Packers right there with them, guys. So again, they've got the Packers listed as tied for 5th best odds to win the Super Bowl. That's with how the roster sits right now. Everything, if we're just going to run it back right now, that's where the Super Bowl odds open up at. So what would we need to do? And when you look at it from that perspective, what would we need to do to kind of get us over the hump? What would we need to do to put the Green Bay Packers in that top 3? How can we break that 1,000 mark, right? At like plus 900, somewhere there. Well, you got to get better than the Seahawks and the Rams. It's essentially what it comes down to. Well, what do the Seahawks and the Rams have, right? That's what you got to ask yourself. What are the strengths of those teams? To me, the Seahawks are built a little bit different than the Rams. I think the Seahawks are better in the trenches than the Rams. However, the Rams got that combo of Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, which is very important, right? I think they ran the ball fairly effective as well. I'll tell you this, it's coached by 2 great young coaches, right? And Sean McVay and obviously Coach McDonald, or is it McDonald? Yeah, McDonald, that won the Super Bowl last night. And what a class act he is, man. Hey, defensive coach. You guys have heard me kind of rant about that, right? I prefer, as a fan, I want an offensive-minded coach at the helm. There's a situation where a defensive-minded coach, that actually both representatives in the Super Bowl were 2 defensive-minded coaches, right? So that's something to take a note of. Is the NFL shifting? I don't think it is quite yet. I think I would still prefer an offensive coach over a defensive coach, but you got to call it out. If you see it, you got to say it, right? So going to be really, really interesting to see if that trend holds true. So again, another thing that's going to come into play here, everybody's talking about in the chat here, talking about the trenches, says Jen Wright. Coach Lynn says invest in the defense, absolutely. Yeah, Coach Lynn says May was seeing ghosts. He sure was, and rightfully so. And you've seen him be able to step straight up in the pocket and scramble a couple of times. He wanted to do that more times than not, but they had a little touch spy on him in the middle, and you'd see him step up, and all of a sudden that gap would close, and he gets smacked in the mouth, right? So I think the Patriots will be fine. I think Drake May is a fine quarterback, but you got to get better in the trenches if you want to compete with teams like that, for sure. Coach Land goes on to say invest in defense. All right, got it. Yeah. So this right here is huge. Jen Wright said Kubiak leaving might hurt Seattle. It definitely will. Which, fun fact, I've seen a stat, man. Minnesota Muse, it's at _MN Muse, tweeted out an image and said the last quarterback and offensive coordinator the Vikings got rid of just won the Super Bowl. There's nothing more Vikings than that. So it shows a picture of Sam Darnold, who they moved on from, who was an MVP candidate last year for most, if not all, the season with the Minnesota Vikings. And then Clint Kubiak was their offensive coordinator before. So you literally got the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, went to the Seattle Seahawks with John Schneider building that roster. And tip your cap to John Schneider. What a heck of a job he's done, right? And when you kind of look at all that together, it's like, boy, we talked about it with Minnesota. Like, they were making it sound as if they were making it sound as if, oh no, we're not going to miss Sam Darnold. I heard one Vikings podcaster who I respect a lot, and we can agree to disagree. It's cool. He said, well, once you paid to re-sign, I think it was Justin Jefferson, when you gave him his contract, you couldn't afford to sign Sam Darnold. Guys, that's why I don't call people out by name, and I don't go comment on their streams. If they wanted my opinion, they'd ask for it. This is my show, so I'm going to give my opinion. You can always afford a great quarterback. Like, if you don't have the quarterback in place, you're screwed. There's no two ways of looking about it, man. Like, you can't go out there and go, okay, well, we'll figure the quarterback thing out later. We're going to put all our stock in a first-round rookie quarterback who was not the most appealing coming out of college. Nobody was saying J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in this draft. Late offseason, kind of surge. We had him a little bit lower than other quarterbacks on our board, right? And then he gets hurt his rookie year. And what happens? He gets hurt his rookie year and misses all of training camp. And then he goes into his first training camp as a starter. And it's like, you think he's just going to go out there and perform like Sam Darnold? And, like I always try to do, I kind of took a step back and was like, hey, guy, I guess it could happen. I'm not betting my hard-earned money on it, right? I'm not doing that. So what happened? He went out there and he showed some flashes, and then he crapped the bed. It doesn't mean that J.J. McCarthy can't be a great quarterback, but that's the perfect example of what not to do with a young quarterback. Hey, we're just going to throw you into the fire. We know you haven't played a single snap of regular season football in the NFL. This is your team. Run with it. How often does that pan out? How often does that work? Very rarely, right? I'm trying to see if I got where we had him at. Yeah, this is the order in which we had the quarterbacks, okay? And again, this wasn't my personal opinion. I'll give my personal opinion. I would have taken Jaden Daniels. Me personally, I like Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams. If it had been my personal opinion, the quarterback ranking here would be different, and I'll explain that in a second. Here's what our board said the quarterback rankings were. Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, Jaden Daniels 3, Michael Penix 4, and it's significantly lower. And then you have Bo Nix 5, J.J. McCarthy 6. And the Vikings thought J.J. McCarthy, the sixth best quarterback in that draft, they thought this quarterback is 6 quarterbacks deep, and we're going to get us a stud at quarterback. And then just throw him to the Wolves. Like, if you throw Jaden Daniels to the Wolves, a guy that just came out of a situation there in LSU where it was more of a pro style, and it didn't rely as much on the run. Like, that offense went through Jaden Daniels, right? That's a different situation. But the way I would have ranked the quarterbacks, I personally like Jaden Daniels 1, Drake May 2, Caleb Williams 3, and then it dropped off to the order of I actually like Bo Nix. When I grouped them together and I did the breakdown on the show, I actually like Bo Nix up there with the top 4. I was very high on Bo Nix, and I got raked over the coals because he was older, right? But again, why did J.J. McCarthy struggle? It's not that he's not talented, lack of experience. But we're going to knock Bo Nix for having played more football in college. People are speaking out both sides of their mouth when they say that, right? So, and I know college is different than the pros, right? Completely get that. However, quarterback for the Packers here. Here are the MVP odds, early MVP odds. Okay, 2026, 2027 NFL MVP opening odds. Number 1, Josh Allen plus 600. Number 2, Lamar Jackson plus 750. Number 3, Drake May plus 850. 4 is Joe Burrow plus 1,000. 5 is Justin Herbert plus 1,100. Pat Mahomes is right there at 5th with him at plus 1,100. Then it's Dak Prescott plus 1,300. Matt Stafford plus 1,400. Then Jordan Love at plus 1,500. So Jordan Love is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8th or 9th on the MVP offseason. Here's the MVP odds. Now, again, is MVP everything? No. why am I bringing up MVP then? If I could care less if our quarterback wins the MVP. The reason I always bring it up is he in the conversation with the upper echelon of quarterbacks? That's the question. Like, if you go to EPA per dropback, Jordan Love was the second best quarterback in the league this year. If you go to passing yards, that would suggest now he's closer to 10, maybe just outside of 10. If you go to touchdown interception ratio and passer rating, you go, oh, he's actually top 5 quarterback, right? So it depends on what stats you think are most important. We try to take it all, throw it in a pot with the PFF grades, watch the tape, watch him threading the needle, watch his accuracy improve. As long as your quarterback is a top 10 caliber quarterback, you protect the football, you've got a chance to win the whole thing. That's the point here. Again, it's not about will Jordan Love, has he been disrespected? Will he be the MVP? It's about, for me, is your quarterback good enough to win the whole thing? And I think he is. So that's my take on that when it comes to kind of the MVP odds and as well as the Super Bowl champion odds. So I'm curious to know, you guys are watching this back later, and I'm going to try to hit some of the comments. Let's hit some of the comments real quick, okay? Jaco, this is probably the thing that popped up to everybody, right? He says, why the HE double hockey sticks is Justin Herbert before Love, Prescott, and Mahomes. Herbert's interesting. When he came in the league, I didn't expect him to be as good as he was. And he just popped. Bang. Right? I was like, holy cow, this cat is way better than I thought he was. And now he's kind of tapered off. I tend to agree with you here, Jay, that he shouldn't be above Love. He shouldn't be above Prescott and Mahomes as well. Now, MVP odds are a little tricky. It's suggesting who has the best chance, right, of winning the MVP. Not necessarily they're the better quarterback. I think there's been times in the past where we've looked up and said, okay, this quarterback won MVP, but he wasn't the best quarterback in the league. Recently, I haven't felt like that, but there's been times like that in the past. But I understand. I agree with what you're saying, Jay. A year and a half, 2 years ago, I put Justin Herbert above Love. Now I got Love above Herbert, definitely. So you're seeing Love continue to get better. He made a huge improvement this year, guys. Huge improvement. Daryl says Jordan Love sitting at plus 1,000. So he's probably got different odds, or is that what? Yeah, he must have different odds there. So again, I had them group this together and kind of pull from multiple sources. So if that's accurate, just name where you got those odds from there, Daryl, if you don't care, man, because again, everybody's a little bit different here in that regard. Let's see here. Mike Z says, how about Sean Payton? Flaming Bo, man, I love Matt LaFleur. Yeah, it was kind of weird, right? Kind of weird. Him and Bo going back and forth at each other. But that's two emotionally charged people. There's no doubt about that, man. No doubt about that. Carney in the chat says defense wins championships. It does. It does. But boy, oh boy, if I was looking at that Seahawks defense last night, and all I was thinking to myself was, I know we could have been more effective than the Patriots offense. And going into the game, we had a little Super Bowl party, and people were asking me, like, well, who do you got here tonight? Who do you got here tonight? I said, I really don't care who wins. If Seattle wins, that's a former general manager for the, a former executive for the Green Bay Packers, right? So I'd like to see John Schneider continue to solidify his place in pro football, which, by the way, man, he's creating one hell of a resume. There's no two ways about that. Been there since 2010, been a while, right? But still, he's put together an awesome program. So I can root for that. I also want Sam Darnold to win just because it looks so bad on the Vikings, right? Let's be honest. I'm a little bit petty like that. And then also on the other side, though, it's like I really like Mike Vrabel and everything he stands for, the type of coach he is, the type of man he is. You know, he just seems like a former player. You know, his players are going to respect him, this and that. I like Drake May. We had him high on our board, and I think he's a good quarterback. So I just kind of sat back like, I really don't care. Well, who do you think's going to win? And I the first thing I went to was, man, if the Broncos had Bo Nix against the Patriots, I think the Broncos beat the Patriots. I really felt like that. You know, obviously that was just such a bad thing that happened there with the ankle and losing Bo Nix like they did. So I ran it through that filter and said, yeah, I think the Seahawks are going to dominate this game. And they did. You know, they did. So, but yeah, great point there, man. Defense does win championships. It's true. But if you ain't got an offense, good luck, you know. Yeah, it's like the Patriots last night. I don't think the Patriots defense played bad. Do you guys? But what did their offense do? Their offense couldn't do anything. So you can credit the Seattle's defense, absolutely, but you also got to take into consideration that the Patriots weren't built very good up front. So it both goes hand in hand, right? It goes hand in hand for sure. So I'm curious to know if you guys watch this back later. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about the Packers Super Bowl odds? Do you think it's too high? Do you think it's too low? How do you feel about the MVP odds? Do you think that Jordan Love's being disrespected, but is it right where you expected it? And how do you think he maybe needs to play to be successful this coming season? Let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on our future live streams.